warm welcome to Disky Talk with Leono. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's special episode, I'm joined by a special guest, a genius behind the scenes, who is a director and a producer at Supersport, and she goes by the name of Nono Cele Xaba. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, thank you for accepting the invite. Huge fan of your work, and I like this because you're the genius behind the scenes. I thought let's bring you in front of the camera and let's have a conversation.
Yeah, as nerve-wracking as that is for me. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Let's talk and let's see, what we can get from this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. But before we start, I've got something. I've got a dedication for you. A song.
What?
Yes, a song.
Oh, the Nono song.
Yes, the Nono song.
Yola. Yes! I was not expecting that.
Yeah, but anyway, let's put the music aside. So let's rewind. Before hit songs were written because you were inspiring them.
Obviously.
So growing up. So you've got 3 siblings and you grew up around boys. Do you think that shaped your character, considering that you would end up in a male-dominated environment?
Absolutely. Being around boys, it gave me a confidence because my brothers treated me like one of them. They didn't see me as a girl, and I appreciated that. When it was time for us to climb the trees, I climbed the trees with them. It wasn't like, oh, she's a girl, she can't do this. In fact, I was more of one of the guys than some of them. You know what I mean? I've always been very assertive, very sure of myself. So I'm grateful that I grew up around boys. They made me realize that I am strong, that I am capable, to a point where for a long time I didn't see myself as a girl. I just saw myself as someone who is capable to do whatever I put my mind to.
No, that I think that is a really nice thing, especially considering that sometimes when you do grow up with boys, they could easily sideline you, but for the mere fact that they took you in,
correct,
I think that was great. And obviously then boys come with certain influence. Were they part of the reason why you fell in love with sport, or was that an independent discovery?
Oh, 100%. At home we are sports fanatics like you won't believe. And I would watch, when I was a little bit younger, I would watch my dad connect with my brothers through soccer. Whether we were listening on the radio, because I don't come from a well-off family, like whether they're listening on the radio or watching TV, later on in the years, I would see this synergy amongst them, and I loved that. And I could see how they are drawn to this thing, and instinctively I wanted to be part of that. And it made me so curious as to why does this thing bring them together like this? Why so much laughter, so much fun, so many tears? What is it about this that unites them? So that's how I fell in love with football. I would sit and watch with them, and for me it wasn't so much the sport, but the emotion in the room, the concentration, the unity, it captivated me. I was like, what's going on? Because my dad is not someone who shows a lot of emotion, but where football is concerned, all of a sudden you see my dad, reacting so much, whether it's cheering or crying, and I was like, there's something special here. There's something about the sport that moves people. And for me that was the magic. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is. Especially when you consider those emotions and how you're able to describe, how you grew up and some of those emotions as well. But now, when you look at it and you're then progressing as a young girl and you're in your teenage phase, when does it hit you that you'd like to pursue broadcasting?
So the story with broadcasting starts with my grandmother, because I come from a family of storytellers. My dad was a teacher, my mom is a nurse. My grandmother had never gone to school, but she was really good at storytelling. So before we go to bed, she'd tell us like stories, what in isiZulu we call inganekwane, in isiXhosa we call it intsoni. And then she would tap into the power of the imagination. My grandmother would say, kwasukela kwasukela kwakukhona intombazane ayifana nawe, and she would take me to a space I'd never been before, you know, and I would imagine this girl just like me who had these superpowers or this special gift. So my grandmother was a real storyteller. And I knew that I wanted to get in the business of storytelling because of my grandmother. The way she elaborated stories, the way she told stories and evoked emotion and made me believe in things I had never seen in my life. So when I was growing up, I was like, I want to be a storyteller, but I didn't know how to translate that into something real and tangible, where I could say, this is what I want to be. And then I married that passion for storytelling with football because of what I saw at home, of the connection in the house every time football was a topic of the moment. So that's how I fell in love with broadcasting. It was the storytelling from my grandmother and just the joy of it at home when I saw the boys watching football. So when I was in grade 11, a couple of people came from DUT, Durban University of Technology, who were telling us about different career paths, and they happened to mention television production. And I was like, hang on, what is that? Tell me more about that. And as they told me more about what television production is, I was like, that's what I was born to do. Unfortunately, it wasn't well received at home because they had never seen anyone doing that. Like, also my dad was like, what, you want to be an actress? Are you kidding me? No, you know. And it took a lot for me to try to explain to him, it's not only about acting, there are people behind the scenes. And yeah, but my dad at the end of the day allowed me to go study, and that's how my journey began.
How does that informed decision come about? Because when you look at storytelling, you know, there's so many different ways to tackle it. You know, you could be the writer. You could be the presenter. You can be the commentator. You can be an analyst. You know, there's so many ways to look at it. Where then do you find your niche with all of that? And why is it behind the scenes? Why does that stick out to you?
So that happens for me at varsity, because we're given assignments to do different things. So let's say Luyolo has a project. In Luyolo's project, I'm the camera person. In another person's project, I am the lighting person. In another person's project, I'm the director, and so forth. But when it came to producing, there's a light that came alive in me, because basically producing is all about ideas, coming up with ideas, telling stories, you know. So for me, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to produce. I want to put concepts together. I really want to drive the narrative. I want to inspire people through stories, you know. And the passion for me was for African people, because like I said earlier on, my grandmother was a massive storyteller, and I wanted to see people like myself in these stories. That's actually what drove me. You know, I wanted to see people who came from where I came from. Coming up, doing great things. I wanted to tell our story. In fact, I very much believe even now, I'm still telling my grandmother's stories through my work. I'm saying it's possible. You know, you can come from Bizana and be something spectacular. You know, you can start from nothing and do something that blows the world away. You can tell your story, and your story is important. And we need your story. I think so many times we undervalue or undermine our own stories. And that's why I'm in this industry. I'm here to tell stories of the African child. Why is that funny?
No, I just love the passion. You know, I love the passion, and it's something that I can resonate with, and it's something that so many people can resonate with, especially when you say the African child, you know, because it's all about believing. You know, because if you don't believe and if you don't see it, what's the point?
That's correct. That's correct. And also, it's very important for us to also control our narrative and not allow people to think that our story is all about poverty and lack. Yes, there is poverty and lack, but you know what there is as well? Perseverance. There's character. There's strength. There's confidence. So many people, when they tell our stories, they focus on the fact that Nono came from this small town with very little, but they forget that there was passion in this girl. There was drive, creativity, the desire to make things better, the desire to see other people being uplifted. What about that narrative? So we shine the light on the struggle, but what about the character, the boldness, the courage? And that's what people all around us need. They need to know that I can have the same strength that's in you.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of where you started, regardless of how you started, but that strength that's in you, it also exists in me.
And you speak about character, you speak about boldness and strength, and I think three aspects which were always going to be important with regards to the transition of you ending up at Supersport. So how does that opportunity come about?
So after I finished my studies, I sat at home for what feels like forever. I was applying to a lot of places, I was not getting accepted, and I was really starting to get frustrated, and my dad was getting to that point. I could feel it. He didn't say it, but I could feel he was like, you see, I told you. And then I get an email from Supersport, they are looking for interns, and then I raise my hand for that. I'm like, I'm available, I'd be keen to try out, let's see what this opportunity brings. And that's how the door for me at Supersport started. So when I started at Supersport, I was an EVS trainee. An EVS trainee basically is the person who builds packages or plays back slow-mos while the game is live, right? But what I didn't know at the time is, as much as I was an EVS training, we had to start with bashing. So bashing, cable bashing, in essence, you guys are responsible for making sure that you're at the stadium maybe 7 hours before everybody else. You rig all the cables. So the cable starting from the van where everybody else is going to be working from all the way to the field. You guys are responsible for making sure that all the audio cables are in their right places and whatnot. And during the game, you run around with the mic. So these big rugby players, when they're running left, you better be on the sideline running left, my friend.
Yeah.
When they go right, you better make sure that you are moving with them.
Yeah.
So that's what we were doing for what felt like forever, honestly, because I didn't even get to touch the actual EVS machine for a long period. And I understand that now because there's process involved. You don't just get to where you want to be, there's a process involved. And that process humbled me, and it taught me so much about the industry I'm in, to a point where I appreciate even a small cable now, because that cable has work to do. It's important, and if nobody lays down that cable, we won't see the game on air.
Yeah.
You know, it helped me to appreciate everyone involved. You know, people always think that it's just about the presenter or the commentators. There's so many people behind the scenes who make this work. And those people, unfortunately, don't always get the credit that they deserve, but they work hard. There are people that we work with that, like, I'm in awe of. Every time I'm in a production, I realize that I'm surrounded by greatness. Yeah.
And you say that you before you could even get to where you wanted to get, and it took so long. What was the adaptation process like? If we're looking at from maybe, let's say, the first 6 to 8 months and you finding your feet.
Oh my goodness, I struggled. Luyolo, I struggled so much. First of all, I'm in a completely different city. It was the first time I was away from home, so I struggled, just that, knowing that when I finish here I still need to get home, and I need to be the person who must now decide what's gonna be for dinner. All my life I just got home and my mom had made that dinner, and the dynamics at work, I think for the very first time I realized that, oh my goodness, I'm a girl amongst so many guys, and that they made you feel that, you just felt that somehow you are inadequate, somehow you need to prove yourself, somehow you need to question yourself. Should you be here? Is this your place? And I struggled a lot with that, and back then I was much thinner than I am now. So even that was a challenge, because as I mentioned, we would run around with cables, and the fact that I have a small frame, it hindered that process. I wasn't quite as fast as other people. I couldn't run as quickly as they could. I couldn't, I struggled, and mentally I was challenged like I'd never been challenged before. But I'm grateful for that journey because it showed me who Nono is. I needed that testing, and I wasn't even aware that I needed it. But I needed to know who Nono is outside my family setting, and I'm grateful that everything that my parents taught me, it really stayed with me. And the Nono that they told me that I was came alive. My parents had always said, you can do anything you put your mind to. You are great. You are going to do amazing things in the world. But those are just words that I heard. It had never really been tested. So now I was in a situation or in an environment where that really was being pulled out of me. Let's see the great Nono. Let's see this potential that your parents have been talking about. And yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier on the male-dominated environment. What are the challenges that young females face in broadcasting and getting into it? Because when you look at it, I just feel that that isn't given much of a spotlight. The challenges. And for me, one of the beautiful things about having your own platform as a person is that you get to thoroughly explore certain things in depth. So I'd like for you to even elaborate on that and some of the challenges that young female broadcasters would face in a male-dominated environment.
How much time do you have?
All the time in the world.
Listen, it's a very challenging environment. First of all, the things that we struggle with as females are not so much the things that are said as in how we are made to feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these are subtle behaviors, where people make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. You could never explain what an offside is. You could never understand tactics, so it's not so much what the guys say as in how they make you feel. Like, oh, are you gonna be able to pick that up? So you're making me feel small. You want me to doubt myself. You want me to feel like I'm not capable, I'm not able, And I think some of the guys are not aware of their own behaviors, and they're so comfortable. Because it's like, this is a man's world. This is how it's always been. It's always been just us. And you are not aware of the damage those things cause to your co-workers, And believe it or not, we are starting to see a lot of females coming through, which is a fantastic thing. But we really need to buy into the narrative, I believe, that we need each other. We need each other. And in order for us to tell proper stories, we need both your view and mine. It can't be either or. And yes, there might be things that you pick up that I don't pick up, but best believe there are things that I'll also pick up that you won't. And we need both our perspectives, And I think we still have a long way to go when it comes to us really embracing women in the broadcasting space in totality. We still have a long way to go. We need to do away with even things like it's a male-dominated industry. We need to do away with things like that so that women don't feel like, ooh, I'm now entering a space where very few... No, we shouldn't have to feel like that. And we shouldn't have to apologize or explain our passion. I don't want to have to explain my passion to you. I know I'm passionate about it, and I can show you what I can do. That's even better, So why should I... No, because we don't make young men explain themselves. We accept that they already know. Why the double standard? So we are slowly but surely trying to build and welcome women in. And also, even with the ladies, they mustn't come in only because it looks glamorous. They must come in because they really have something to contribute. Value is very important. Bring something to the table. Open doors for generations who will come after us. For me, that's my biggest drive. I'm always thinking of the next generation. Nono is here in this space. She's directing, she's producing. But what does that mean for the next generation? And not only directly my children, what does it mean for other young African kids? What does it mean? Because it's not enough for me to be doing that if I'm not making a deposit to generations after. Because I must pass on the baton. The fact that it was so difficult for me to enter this space must make me realize that I need to do something about that. It can't end with me, and we need to get rid of this mentality where we are so easily satisfied about the fact that, oh, I did it, I'm the greatest. Yes, no, great, but what are you doing for those who will come after you? What contribution are you making to those people's lives?
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. So what was key then in overcoming then those challenges? Because right now I see a person who's very strong, who's got lots of character, you know. So you mentioned that in the beginning phases you were struggling, but what I see today, you know, I don't see that young woman you were talking about.
Yeah.
If anything, I see a leader now.
Yeah.
You know, and I see somebody who is willing to make a contribution for the next generation.
Yeah.
Not just thinking about themselves in the present, but the next generation as well. So what was key in that transition of you going from struggling with being in this environment and trying to navigate these challenges, and then you becoming this leader and this passionate individual you are today?
Luyolo, it's simple. I had to go through the process to discover who I am. It's that simple. Because all those challenges were revealing something that was long in me and I wasn't even aware. There was a time after my internship where I packed my bags and I went home. I took a bus with my last 400 rand and I went home. My dad picked me up from the bus station and my dad asked me, how long are you here for? Because he could see the bag. You know, it's like, girl,
it's huge.
What's going on? It's a big suitcase. And I was like, no, I'm here for good. My dad said to me, Monday morning, I'm dropping you off at the bus station. I'll give you bus fare. You need to go back and discover who you are, who you are called to be. Because you're so much more than just my daughter. At the time, I absolutely hated my dad for that. I felt like he wasn't listening, he wasn't being attentive to the struggles or the challenges that I was facing. But my dad, on Monday, took me to that bus and said, you need to go discover who Nono is. So the process brought out who I was all along, and I wasn't even aware. And sometimes I think we quit too soon. We quit too soon. We need to allow the challenge to bring out who we are called to be, because there's gold inside of you, and sometimes it takes challenges to bring it out. I had to discover that I am a leader. That I am a chain breaker for generations that will come after me. Oh, please, best believe they will stand on shoulders of giants, and I'm committed to that. You know, I had to discover that I am a person who's very passionate, and I will never apologize for that. I'm a person who asks for excellence, and I know how to bring it as well. You know, I had to discover all of that about me, and not be fazed by what I was going through, and not allow what I was going through to limit what was within me, you know. So yes, the journey is difficult, but yes, it must be, of course. Yeah. Why do we expect things to be easy? Why do you expect to walk in a room and everybody must like you and listen to your ideas? No. Allow the process to develop you and bring out the best in you. If they're not listening to you, say, okay, cool, game on, I'll take that. You're not gonna listen? I'm gonna show you what I can do. Hey guys, I know that you're busy, I just want to show you this. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't like it. If they don't like it, you go back to the drawing board. Hey guys, these are the ideas, until they get to a point where they're like, there is something about this person. They just don't quit, they just don't give up. And every time you enter into a room, realize that you bring something that nobody else does in that room. Fill that space with positivity, with passion, with authenticity of who you are. And I promise you, if you do that, if you're committed to being 100% you, you never need to worry about anything else, because you are 100% you.
Definitely. So let's have a look then at the first. Do you remember the first game? The first game that you were working behind the scenes, and which game was it, and how was that?
I don't remember the game, but I remember it was a rugby game. Blue Bulls were playing, and I remember us having a production meeting, and I'm the only girl in the entire production, and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I'm getting overwhelmed by this whole situation. I wasn't even sure where I should stand. Should I move? Should I, you know?
Yeah.
But there's also something about being surrounded by people who are good at what they do, which is what I love about Supersport, which is why they're called the World of Champions. Everyone is so committed and so good at what they do that they make you want to, be good as well, you know. So at the time when I joined the company, it was before we had the PSL rights. So we're doing a lot of rugby. So the first 6 months I just worked on rugby. And mind you, I don't come from a background where we watched a lot of rugby. So I had to spend so many hours just learning. Okay, what is a hook? Woo. Okay, what is a try? Okay, how many points do you get for that? What is a conversion? So
and when you speak about the PSL rights, they then come in. Do you now remember the first football match?
Oh my goodness, I've done so many. No. Oh no, I don't remember. I actually don't remember.
But then, what was the feeling like? Because you grew up with your brothers and your father, and you grew up in this footballing environment. What was it like to finally be in the footballing space from a behind the scenes perspective?
For me, it was a dream come true. When it was announced that Supersport we're getting those broadcast rights, it's like the heavens opened up for me. And I knew with certainty at that point that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I knew with certainty, and from that moment on until today, my dad watches every match that I work on. He hypes up everything that I do. I could be traveling to Bulugwane, I could be in Cape Town, I could be in Venda, it doesn't matter. My dad is like, my daughter is there. You see this football? My daughter makes sure you can see this football. So it's still a big deal to me even today. The feeling never goes away for me. I don't get tired of feeling so grateful to do the work that I do. It has so much meaning. From the time the buses enter the stadium, I'm like, I get goosebumps because I'm like, this is what it's like to live the dream. This is what it's like to be part of greatness. And I always pray that feeling never leaves me, because it leaves a lot of people where they start taking things for granted. And for me, I'm always like, wow, I hope I always feel like this. I hope I always realize how blessed I am to be surrounded by such greatness.
So let's speak about match day, and I want you to paint us a vivid picture of what match day looks like from the beginning right to the end. As a director behind the scenes, how does it work?
Okay, cool. Match day, depending on where it is, we would have traveled the day before or on the day, and also depending on the time of the match. So let's say we're in Cape Town, so we'll fly to Cape Town, land in Cape Town, and go to the venue. We need to be at the venue plus minus 4 hours before the production. And then we get there, we make sure that all the equipment is working, we check all the facilities. That takes time, because also we are very detailed people. It's very important for us to make sure that everything works as it should. We need to test the commentary mics, we need to test presenter mics, we need to test all the cameras, and that's why we give you as many angles as possible. And then after everything is tested, we have a meeting with all our crew members to make sure that they understand exactly what it is that we are trying to achieve on the day. Also, another important thing about that meeting is because we don't always work with the same people all the time. So you can't assume. We don't leave room for assumptions here. So we're very clear on, this is what I expect from you, Leolo, today. And with the different presenters as well, you need to explain to them what you want from them that day. Don't do same old, that doesn't fly. And then after we have our production meeting, then we get ready for the production. Then first thing that happens, the buses arrive. That's when the euphoria, starts. Woo, this is really happening. The teams arrive. We need to make sure that our cameras are positioned for those bus arrivals. After that, an hour before kickoff, we make sure that we do coaches interviews. There are various departments that you're working with. There's the vision control department, for example, that makes sure that your pictures look impeccable. You can't at home You shouldn't have to tell the difference between this camera and that camera because they all look the same. They look clean, they look proper, the pictures look crisp, you know. And while you're directing, you're talking to all these departments, whether it's cameras, whether it's audio, whether it's the VT department, you are talking to everybody all the time. So you need to have strong leadership skills. You need to be a really good communicator because you don't want to confuse people. And things happen at the blink of an eye. So you need to give clear, concise instructions. Give me this, do that. And then you must also be good at bringing out the best in people. That's very important, you know, because people do want to deliver. No one leaves their home to come and mess up a production, you know. So they must feel like this person wants to bring out the best in me. This person cares for me, cares about my delivery, and also compliment people when they are doing the right thing. And then, lo and behold, 5 minutes before kickoff, this is the moment. Woo! Yeah, no, it's absolute magic.
It is. And I know that for those who don't know, you're a multicam specialist. What does that entail?
So basically on match day, it basically means, okay, picture this at home. I'm looking at plus minus, say 18 screens all at the same time, right? So I need to decide, how do I best tell the story in a way that's going to make sense to the person who's watching at home without them knowing that I am watching 18 screens at the same time? So I need to say, okay, cool, the ball is there, all right? So cut to camera one. The ball leaves the frame and goes to that camera, so cut to that camera. Oh, the coach is reacting, go to that camera. But I also need to time myself. At what point do I go to the coach without losing any information as to what's happening on the field? So I need to time myself really well. You know, so that's in essence that's what it means to be a multi-camera director. It's hectic. It's hectic.
Please add specialist.
Specialist,
please
of
respect
course. Correct. Yeah, so that's what it means. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I think it works for me because I'm a storyteller. I love African stories.
Yeah. So what happens if it's a very exciting match? And maybe you caught on camera too, you know, and you're looking and you're thinking, yo, Keegan, don't you ever get caught up in the match itself?
I think, we do. We are humans. We are humans. And obviously, sometimes you have your own ideas of what should be happening, you know? But it's very important to remember that you have like a group of people who are with you in this OB van or in this space as you are directing, who help you, you know, who help you say, hey, no, we're doing too much of this. Ease up. So you're not just on your own. Yes, you have the final say, but then you have so many people behind the scenes with you who assist you with things like that, because it's also very important that we don't tell biased stories.
Definitely. Do you celebrate goals?
Who, me? I celebrate when Bafana scores. That's where I draw the line, okay? I celebrate when Bafana scores. That's it.
So let's take off the multicam specialist and the director hat. Let's put it to the side. Let's put on the producer hat now. Which shows have you produced on Supersport? Or been a part of?
So many.
Your top three.
Mzansi Legends.
Yes.
And I'll even give you reasons why. Mzansi Legends, for me, it spoke to my soul. Because, like I said, I love African stories. It was basically us celebrating our own, to say thank you for the contribution that you've made to local football, where we would sit someone down and really take them through their journey and acknowledge their input and their value. So for me, that always, I love that show, even now. Number two, back pages. Love back pages, where we look at the back pages of the newspapers, what's making headlines, we know what's hot, what's not, and just engaging with journalists. I do feel that that is a point of view that we need now more than ever. We need our journals to really be given the spotlight. The other show that I love that I'm currently working on is Fan Base, where we give the voice to the fans and allow them really to express their views, because all of these guys we're doing it for you at home.
Yeah.
But there have been so many other shows, World Cup Live, where I work with Bonang and Sizwe, Euro shows, Hello Africa. I mean, I work on shows all the time, but also we produce on the actual match day. So some days I'll go to work as a producer, some days I'll go to work as a director, depending on what's needed. And what I love about producing is you mainly drive the storyline, and that's very important. What is the story? Because we can't just be there to be cutting cameras or to be just showing you guys pictures. What is the story? Why is it important that we are here?
Yeah. So with regards to, you mentioned your top three.
Yeah.
I want to understand, how do these shows come about? Is there a person who's saying, okay guys, let's do this, or can you independently as a producer pitch to the channel and say, listen guys, I've got an idea, this, that, and the third. So for example, using the three, Mzansi Legends, Backpage, and Fanbase, how did they come about?
So we have a team. So there's a team that works on football, there's a team that works on rugby, there's a team that works on tennis, and so forth. So we have meetings quite often, and we'll put it on the table. Guys, what are we lacking right now? What do we need more of? Okay, cool. Like just before COVID, we had a conversation about we need to put the focus on fans, you know. So how do we do this? Then it's up to you as a producer to say, maybe I'm thinking we can try something like this, and then the exec producer will say, go ahead, try it out, let's see how it works. But in essence, there is a team that works behind the scenes, and we come up with ideas as a collective, and then we execute.
Yeah, and then when you bring the two worlds together, you being a director and then you being a producer, how is it like having to juggle both? Or is it a seamless transition from one to the other on a day-to-day basis?
I like it, I prefer it. It's not everyone who can do both, and I understand why. But for me, because I'm a female, there's always been that pressure to be better than the guys. You know, you have to be so much better than the guys in order for you to really be heard. And it's a shame that I should have to say something like that, but it's the reality that we live in. For me, I prefer it. I prefer having the director's eye, but having the producer's passion. I feel that the two really come together nicely. And you know, a friend of mine said to me the other day, I can always tell when you're working because I know I'm going to see this and see that. And I take that as a compliment, of course. Thank you very much. I do feel that it works for the best of the work that I am doing. It's seamless. It's seamless.
Yeah. So let's move on then. This segment is called Top 5. So, so we're going to look at top 5 colleagues who have had an impact.
You're trying to get me into trouble. It's not who I remember, it's who I forget.
Yeah, that's always a problem. We're going to have a top 5 PSL players of all time, your PSL players as well, and then top 5 coaches. But we'll start with the top 5 colleagues that have impacted you. What did you learn from them, and why are they an impact in your life?
Okay, cool. In no particular order. I'm going to repeat
Just know, the one she starts with is at number 1, and then...
It's not true.
It's true.
Okay, in no particular order.
Yeah.
Top 5 colleagues. Number 1, Phumlani Msibi, brilliant storyteller.
Thoughts, please.
Composed, a gentleman. What it brings to the production, I don't think we have celebrated him enough. He sees the game in his own way. Like, he's brilliant. His mind is brilliant. His passion for football. There's none like him. He's by far the best broadcaster I've ever worked with. And he makes people feel so at ease in his presence. Phumlani Msibi.
Number 1.
Number 2, in no particular order.
Number 1. They said there's none like Mr. Msibi, so that means he's number 1.
I'll go with number 2, Ibrahim Badad. He is one of our directors. He is a genius. Ibrahim Badad can walk into any environment and tell you, this will work, this won't work. I like this background. I need more lights here. There aren't enough lights there. We need to move this person. Like, his mind works overtime. And he's so daring in how he does his work. He's not afraid to put people on the moon even. You know, he's not afraid to say, you do this link from the chopper. I love how his mind works. He's so inspiring, and he's so humble. Yeah, he's amazing. Number 3, Julia Stewart. Now you're getting me into trouble, but Julia Stewart. I'll tell you why. Because Julia first came to Supersport as a guest on Back Pages. She used to be our guest. She was an editor. And then she made the transition from editor to presenter. And how she tells her stories. And she's an advocate for other women. And she won this award in 2019. And she was the first person I ever knew who said, thank you for this award, but I want to share this award with Nono because of the contribution she has made in me being who I am. I've never seen anyone do that because people like the credit for themselves. Like I said, a lot of people go unpraised behind the scenes. You know, as much as yes, we are producers and directors, a lot of our work goes into training and upskilling the people on air. So when you get that kind of credit and that kind of acknowledgement, it's absolutely amazing. Number 4 on my list, I'm gonna go with Mark Gleason, legendary commentator. Humble man, he's a giant of course, but so graceful. You know, you can ask Mark Gleason any question, you can ask him to assist you with whatever, he's available. He's kind, he's authentic. And I find that there's something about greatness and kindness that goes together. Okay, number 5.
This is how you're thinking.
I'm gonna go with a very good friend of mine by the name of Simona Lani. He also works behind the scenes. He's a creative. He believes in himself. Actually, you remind me of him. He believes in himself. He's not afraid of his own ideas. I think that's the thing about Simo that I love. He's not afraid of his ideas. He's not afraid to be different, to try something we've never done before, you know, and he's not afraid to challenge, you know. Yeah, why don't we do that? You know, ask those bold questions. So yeah, that's my top 5 in no particular order. You all loved by me.
So ladies and gentlemen at home, in the comment section, do let me know what you think of the top 5 thoughts, please. But anyway, let's move on to the next segment now. Top 5. So in all your time of covering PSL football, I need your top 5 PSL players.
Okay, cool. Top 5 PSL players in no particular order. Number 1. Lucky Lekwati.
Yeah.
For me, it's the leadership for me.
Yeah.
And owning something. You know, it's like when you show up for work, you own it. I'm part of this thing. It's going to be great because I'm here. It's going to be great because I'm part of it. It's going to be great because I'm telling you it's going to be great. It's owning it. It's the leadership. Number 2, Teko Matise. I think he faced a lot of criticism, you know, and for him to bounce back from those kind of things, it takes a special person. You have to be very strong mentally to bounce back from that kind of hate and to make a name for yourself. And I think he's done so well. And yeah, so Teko, next time I'm working with you, you know, drinks on you. Yeah.
It's time to come to the channel.
Yes, of course, let's do that. Let's do that. And then...
Sure, done.
And then number 3,
Yeah.
I'll go with Dane Clayt.
Yeah.
Dane Clayt, absolutely. I love how committed he is. And the fact that everywhere he went, man, there were always just trophies. You know, I feel like he was a good luck charm, you know. So kudos to him for that. Number 4, who will I give it to? Let's see. Let's give it to Hlompo Kekana. He achieved a lot with Sundowns, and he reminds me actually of Lucky as well. His commitment and his leadership. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then number 5, I'm gonna give it to my homeboy, Siyabonga nomvethe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Longevity,
Yeah, longevity, commitment, excellence, brilliance. Ooh, yes, man. Yes, I'm here for that. Yeah.
I think I should interview you at least once a week. I think I'll create a segment.
There'll be a segment.
The Nono Cele segment.
Yes, please. Please comment. We want that, please.
No, I know they've already. In 2 weeks' time, where is she? You said she'd be back. But anyway, let's have a look at the coaches.
The coaches, top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 in no particular order.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with number 5. I didn't go with 1 this time because yeah. Number 5. I'll go with Clive Barker. I feel he did something very unique at the time when he was coaching. He was a father, he was a manager, he was a coach, and it takes a lot to be all those in one.
Yeah.
So I credit him for that, because I know a lot of stories when I was doing Zanzi Legends. A lot of players felt like they could relate to him. They could just be honest and frank, and they would feel heard and understood and listened to.
Yeah.
So I think there's something very special about how he approached that. Number 4, Gavin Hunt.
Shout out, Coach Gav.
Yes, he's awesome. I get to work with him, so that makes it even better. He's absolutely brilliant. What he achieved at Supersport United, what he achieved at Wits, and he's such an amazing soul as well. I mean, always ready for a laugh, easygoing. Number 3, Pitso Mosimane. We can't deny the man. I mean, he's proven himself. Even now, the work that he's doing. Woof. Yeah, he's done a lot for us as a country, whether it was working on the national team or Sundowns, Supersport United. I mean, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Number 2. Number 2. I'll give it to Manoba Mneti. I think of him back in the day when he was still coaching Golden Arrows.
Yeah.
And that 6-0 against Ajax, it will never, ever be deleted in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was there, and for him to have achieved that, and looking at where he is now, that consistency, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Manoba Mneti.
Yeah.
Number 1, I'll give it to Gordon Igesund. Yeah. Passion, love for the game, also a bit of a father figure. I think my favorite memory of Gordon Igesund was when he was coaching, when he saved Swallows, from relegation, and nobody was expecting it. The emotions, the tears, it was a moment, for him, and I'll never forget that. Yeah. That's my top 5 in no particular order.
That's a top 5.
Yeah.
That was the top 5 segment. No, very, very strong top 5s.
Nah?
Right across the board. So, if you were to give advice to a young, aspiring female broadcaster trying to make it within the space, what would that advice be?
If I was to give advice to a female in particular, okay, I would say go for your dreams. Don't let the fact that you're a female define or limit you in any way. You are so much more than a female.
Yeah.
You are a powerhouse. You are capable. You are powerful. You are confident. You are creative. Go for it. And I would say the same words if I were giving advice to a guy. You are capable.
Yeah.
You can do it. So go for it. Yeah.
And in closing, which is your greatest moment in your career?
Honestly, where I am right now. I'm so appreciative of my journey. I'm so appreciative of the work that has been done along the way. I mean, I could easily say the greatest moment was 2014 when I was heading up the it was then called the Multi-Choice Disc Challenge, where we had people who had never worked in the space. And then I had to train and upskill them. I could say it was when netball started, Brutal Fruit. I could say it was when we won an award in 2019. I could say it was a 2010, 2014 or 2018 World Cup. But you know what? It's right now, because all of it had purpose. And where I am right now, I'm so content. I'm so fired up. I'm so appreciative of where I am, and all the tears have been worth it, the hardship, the difficulty, it's all been worth it. Where I am right now, I have such a clear mind about who I am and what can be done for generations to come. I'm grateful for it all. There is nothing I would change. I'm grateful.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm grateful to have had you here, and I'm pretty sure the viewers are also grateful for this episode. And thank you very much for blessing us with your presence. I got to sit down with a multicam specialist, specialist director, magician behind the scenes, producer. I could go on and on. But I'm not bribing you. That is true. And we truly appreciate you. The millions of us that watch and consume Supersport, we truly appreciate the work that you're doing, and I hope you keep going on and keep inspiring. Especially when you speak about the next generations to come. I love that. And the passion that you have. And I just hope that is able to translate to the generations and those who are blessed enough to be within your space. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nono. I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate you coming on. Asambe Nono! So, ladies and gentlemen, that was yet another special episode of Disky Talk with Leon. Signing out. Asambe Nono!